Hello, and welcome to What We've Learned. Once again, it's myself, and as ever, I'm joined by Shane Redding. Hi, Shane.
Hi.
All well?
All good.
Good, excellent, in fact, or experienced and excellent, as we're going to talk about. So today's topic, interesting for the listener, I hope. Two areas we're going to talk about today. We've got a guest with us who is in the customer experience field, a director of customer experience in his SaaS company, but we also want to pick at the journey. So how a passion for music, drum and bass and DJing can then lead on to investigating and exploring social and digital, and ultimately how we can wed those two areas together. So that customer experience and what insight and analytics can teach us. So Shane, who have we got? Tell us about our guest.
So Sam Hill is joining us, and loads to take away from today's chat. And also, I think sort of one of the nicest things I've actually ever read about somebody on LinkedIn in a testimonial, and I think it will come through when we listen to Sam, is that Andreas Poros at Greenlight, Sam's previous boss, has written about him and called him one of the most logical, mathematical, linguistic, and talented EQ, curious and humble individuals. And I think Sam really delivers that as we chat through with him today.
Amazing. And what's Sam's current role, Shane?
So Sam is currently Director of Customer Experience.
And that's Infinity, as we're going to hear. Amazing. So, and actually, dear listener, I'm sure you hear that testimonial is not all hot air. There's lots of brilliance coming from Sam, not least for the fact that we know, Shane and I, that Sam's moved house recently and has been wrestling with the internet demons, and he's done pretty well. There are occasional glitches when we talk to him, but I'm sure that won't put you off the fact this is going to be a really interesting 40 minutes or so. So let's bring out Sam Hill.
So really pleased, Sam, that you can join us today. It's one of the joys of virtual networking during lockdown is meeting new contacts, and the pleasure of meeting you on one such Zoom call. I was really taken by the fact that you have the role as Director of Customer Experience at Infinity, and it would be really nice to know just what does the job entail.
Thanks, Shane and Steve, and thanks for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. The broader job of customer experience director, I guess, in the world of Infinity, is unifying all of our customer facing functions. So with our customer success team, our support team that are regularly engaged from our customers, as well as our solutions, our training function and onboarding function as well. So it's unifying those teams and ensuring that there's a consistent and quality experience for our customers at every step of the journey, all the way from pre-sales through to customers being advocates of us, 6 to 12 to 2 years down the line. So that's ultimately the focus that I have as customer experience director, is to align those teams and ensure that we have a really high quality experience for our customers at every step of their journey in terms of their engagements with our business.
And Sam, I wonder, a chicken and egg question, I guess, from what you've just said. Was the role already there and you came into it, or were you the first CS director in the company? I just wonder for people listening in, there'll be organisations where they haven't got a CX. What was the tipping point to say, right, we need somebody looking after all of this area?
So the business had actually made the step to restructure the function to be under the banner of CX, but just without a leader in place. So I guess it's relatively forward thinking in terms of making that change of presenting it to the outside world as a CX function, but without the actual position of authority to direct it. So I think there was an understanding across the business that in order to really accelerate and elevate the quality of the experience for our customers at all different touch points, it needed someone to bring the whole piece together. So that's hence the role was created, and that presented the opportunity for me to come on board to the business. And for me personally, I have worked with some of the contacts at the business previously, which helped in terms of my understanding of Infinity in the business, and also the management team in place. So that, I suppose, had some bearing on the decision for me to come into that role. But the decision to actually construct the function in the first place was one that was constructed before I even reached the conversation of joining the business.
So that
So Sam,
foresight was
I
there. Sorry,
think
Jane.
that's really interesting. Yeah, sorry, we're both Steve and
Well,
I.
jumping over each other to ask you questions.
Too much excitement, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It is too much excitement. The reason being is because it's, as you know, Sam, and I think it's an area that I do a masterclass on is this customer experience area and that ability to look end to end. And I wonder whether Infinity, in your view, sort of is ahead of the curve because of the space it's in. And we haven't talked much about what it is that actually Infinity does. It's a SaaS-based business, that's correct, isn't it? Tech business.
Yeah, B2B SaaS product. Do you want a quick brief overview of what we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're ultimately a call tracking company. We regard it as we elevate that in terms of calling it call intelligence. So we look at we provide technology that ultimately allows customers to connect the dots between their customers that perhaps come into them via various marketing channels, come onto their websites, and then ultimately engage with them via the telephone and come into their call centers, whether that's sales calls or whether that's service calls. And we're able to connect the dots between that telephone conversation, what's being said and discussed on that conversation, back to originating marketing channels as well, or the behavior that a customer has, or the journey that customer has been on their website. So it provides that data through to our customers to be able to understand perhaps, the detail or the depth of, their marketing campaign performance, just making sure that they're fully aware of what that's driving. Because typically in the world of e-commerce, it's possible to measure that because the transaction all happens there and then on the website. But when that conversation goes onto the telephone, many businesses are not able to actually track or connect the dots between the original marketing channel and the ultimate outcome of the telephone conversation. So that's what we do as a business. It goes into a lot more depth than that, but I don't want to talk on for about 45 minutes around what we do. Can you go back to the original question, Shane? Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
It was very much that because you're in that area of understanding customer behavior, if you like, through, it's interesting you say sales calls, customer service calls, whether you felt that actually there was that realization within your sector, that tech business sector, of customer understanding, that it was necessary to have this CX role. That was the question, really. Are you ahead of the curve?
I think we are. If I look at our direct competitors and some others more broadly in I guess the telecom space, if we look at our business generally, I'm not seeing many others that are structured in a similar way. I think this is a relatively new thing in SaaS generally, to have customer experience under one banner. There are businesses that are starting to do it. I've come across on LinkedIn a number of CX directors in different sectors of SaaS that I'm starting to connect with and get into the community of that a little bit to understand the ways that they're approaching things. But I'm not seeing it so much in our space. So I think certainly within the world of call tracking technology and telecoms more generally, this is quite new. I think that we've as a business understood the importance of it. There's a lot of research that's out there now that sort of talks about the role of CX and how important that is in the buying process, and how customers that are in their decision making through purchase are really looking to understand not just the cost, not just what the product does, but also what the service is going to be that they're going to get from either a platform or a provider or a different business that they may be considering. So there's, within the pre-sales elements of the journey, customer experience is incredibly important. It's important for me as I've come into this business to help the sales team to talk about actually what it is that we do within customer experience once a customer is onboarded, so that they can feel that comfort that they're going to be looked after and they've got all the right communication channels that they need to interact with us to help make their decision a nicer one. So does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, it answers it. In fact, it doesn't just answer, Sam. It provokes a question for me as well, because I like Shane, like yourself. CX is I'm a big advocate of. I think it's a really important area for business. But I wonder, for anyone listening in that believes or doesn't is how do you articulate, how do you measure the success of CX? And you may not be able to, talk to us about exact KPIs, but for anyone that's trying to win this battle, is there a measure? Can you prove the value of CX in a business by the changes that it allows for?
Yeah, I think there are two primary indicators that I like to look at. One of them is retention of our customer base. So if you're doing a good job and you're satisfying your customers, then ultimately you'll see that in being able to retain those customers. So that can be that there's influence on that, and that's if they are pleased with just the product generally, or in our case it's the data platform, and if they're just happy with the data that's coming through, that could help to retain. But you can take an understanding or some level of value from the service that if you are retaining your customers, you're doing a reasonable job at looking after them. The other indication of I guess positive experience comes through when you're looking at customer satisfaction surveying. So we do monitor this. You've got the Net Promoter Score, which you can typically look at, but we're trying to elevate that and look at a slightly richer surveying process where we go to our customer base and talk to them about, how satisfied are you currently with the service we're providing, or the platform and its features, and generally speaking, the overall value that the business is providing to you currently. And we give them the forum through that survey to provide any feedback. And we look at the overall satisfaction scores that come back, and we're able to then benchmark and have a look at how we're doing, and possibly where things may if there are any instances where those scores are coming through low with feedback, we can then address that as a function and always iterate and improve the experience that we're providing.
Really interesting on both of those. I mean, retention, to me, I'm really passionate about the importance of customer retention, and I think this year has shown that more than ever, in terms of you can't, never mind grow, but even survive unless you really work hard at that. But it's interesting you say on the move from NPS and for looking something a bit richer, and that's an area I know people listening are tackling with, and it's something I've spoken to with my peers, and some are moving to things like customer effort score. How easy is it to work with a business, and also looking to overlay social advocacy. But it's not easy, is it, Sam, in terms of putting those KPIs in place and trying to link them together? So any tips from what you're doing?
No, it is very challenging. We ultimately use our core system is Salesforce in the business. We've got a surveying tool where we have now configured that to connect to Salesforce, and all of our reporting is then done out of our core CRM that is Salesforce. So just to give you a bit of a deeper overview of how we actually monitor different satisfaction metrics, we do have an overarching customer satisfaction survey that goes out to our customer base, but we also look at monitoring and surveying at slightly more specific touch points, such as our support cases. Each one has its own specific survey that goes out, as well as our training events. They are followed up with a survey as well, in addition to our onboarding journey. So each of these different engagements that our customers have with us do have a survey attached to them, and then that's mapped automatically into our system in Salesforce, which enables us to then look at, over a time period, what is the average score across this set of customers for this touch point. Say that's training sessions, and we can have a look at the numbers at a top line level through some dashboard reporting that we've set up. And it's very easy for us to then be able to monitor that on a weekly and a monthly basis to understand what the trend looks like. So are the things that we're doing to try and improve the service having an impact in improving scores, or is the impact of the macroeconomic environment having a hindrance on overall scores, and what can we do about that? So there are various it's a little bit more complex when you get under the bonnet of it all, and we have tried to be quite granular in our approach, because if you're just looking at it as a top line NPS one question piece, it just doesn't give you the richness of data to actually really understand what your customers are truly thinking about all the different engagement or interactions that they may be having with you as a business.
It's really interesting in terms of NPS. I remember learning a number of years ago with a client in IT security that where they asked that question was so important, and they were really brave. Rather than a lot of companies, the NPS will use it as a kind of slightly fudge number to say, well, if we put the satisfaction question at a positive part of the journey, then we're going to get an artificially higher score, and that's great. And we can pat ourselves on the back. But they were brave enough to say, well, we're going to put it, and it was in their support area where typically people are in a level of crisis and are negative and stressed because the product's not working or they can't do it. It was a really important learning for me, is when you ask the NPS question, affects the score, and how honest that output is. That back to the understanding that the CX, the experience, is so important.
Yeah, the NPS score for us goes into our overarching satisfaction survey, which goes out at a frequency of every other month. So this is actually new. So this particular survey itself is new and is going out to our customers as we speak ultimately. But that is in place now and has a question set of around about 7 different questions, including the NPS. And it's designed to go out bi-weekly so that we're not necessarily capturing all of our customers at one particular point in the journey, which could, as you say, manipulate either the positive or negative sentiment that comes through. It's quite key for me in particular to be able to, across quite a large customer base, be able to see those trends over a more reasonable time period.
It's more taking sort of, if you like, the pulse of your patient, rather than just a once a year checkup, which is, I think, a great advice. The other thing that when we chatted before, Sam, that I found really interesting is because of your call tracking software this year, you've probably had information before even the clients you're working for have had about how the markets are behaving, if you like, that macroeconomic environment. And in terms of adding value back to your clients, is that something that you've seen with your lens of customer experience, that is something that you realized you had that and you took out to the clients?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point. So we do have a very good feel for the general, we also call it the pulse actually of our business, and that is that results or manifests from the health of our customer base, because we can see our call volumes that are tracked ebb and flow with the health of our customers. So if businesses are doing well and customers are growing and making more conversations with them, we'll see that come through in our data. And as we've seen this year, it has been a challenging environment, and we can see the trends of how COVID and lockdown 1 and lockdown 2 have impacted things, which gives us a really powerful lens on I guess the health of the general economy to some extent, because we've got enough customers across enough sectors to get a good feel. Now, how we've been using that data, and I'm relatively new into the business, so I can't comment for earlier on in lockdown, but it's helped us to understand what sectors in particular are more impacted than others, and where some of those sectors are particularly strongly impacted. We can then think about what is our approach to our comms that we're going out to our customers with. So perhaps changing the message from one of being, let's take a sector that has been clearly affected, which is travel, and that is quite a key sector of ours as a business. So as we all know, the travel industry has been hindered as people are unable to fly from place to place internationally, and even domestically. So we have therefore had a look at how we can support our customers best through this time, using the data and the sector understanding travel has been impacted, and be able to start shifting the message from being that of how do you grow your activity or your customer base currently, to providing perhaps operational efficiencies or marketing efficiencies. So shifting the message and the value proposition to ensure that our customers are truly and continually getting value out of the product, rather than perhaps, if they had in the first place bought it to support their growth ambition, it could be that they find, deeply into lockdown as the sector's been struggling, that from a growth perspective, actually Infinity is not the right platform for them, but the platform can do a lot more that then provide opportunities for spotting growth within your marketing campaigns. We can help you be much more efficient with those campaigns and cutting out wasted spend. We can also find other operational efficiencies in the way that you conduct your call conversations or call handling within call centers, or various other operational benefits to the platform as well. So I guess in answer to your question, Shane, we have tried to be very smart about using the sector data we have in order to be more specific with the value proposition within each individual sector, because there's so much variance of who's doing well and who's not doing well currently.
Sam, it's really interesting. It triggers a thought from way back when I was client side 20 years ago, that what you're articulating there with that call intelligence is something I've tried to do and certainly have advocated to do many times, but it's just difficult because it's such a volume of unstructured audio data. Is, the loop back between your call centers, whether that's sales or service or both, and marketing communication, is if we could have more time to understand what are the main objections or questions, almost like an FAQs that our call center guys pick up on a phone every day about a product. We could learn from that to proactively change our marketing to make sure the messaging kind of counters or covers those questions, objections. And what you've just articulated, for me, not only feels like it's a real way into mining that sentiment and that insight and that questioning, but I also wonder whether, and funny, I was teaching yesterday, and the main questions of students, digital marketing students, was around attribution, which, as we all know, is the holy grail of marketing. It seems like it probably gives a good lens on that as well, that they're not converting online. As you say, Google Analytics can cover that. But Steve sent something, he sees a social media campaign or something, and then the conversion is over the phone. We're starting to turn on lights there, as it feels like, as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. So the two things that you're touching on there, just on your latter point around the attribution, absolutely that, and that's what it's designed to do, to be able to connect the dots between performance and then for particular businesses which they may take sales or service calls rather than transacting the customer online. We're able to connect the dot back to the outcome of that call, back to the originating marketing source, and that doesn't necessarily need to be an online marketing source. That could be an offline marketing source, because we can provide fixed numbers which enable the customer to, for example, track a TV campaign telephone number or a billboard ad telephone number back to a telephone conversation. So we can do that as well in terms of connecting our offline journey to offline journey rather than necessarily online to offline. So that's quite powerful in its own right, and sometimes misunderstood as well, even across our own customers, that capability is there because they've brought us on to be a digital marketing analytics platform to help them support their online activity, but that it's about us being able to educate them to actually, your wider business can benefit from this in terms of your offline activity as well. But the other points you touched on around in call center and finding efficiencies for call handlers, that's also a huge opportunity for our customers in terms of finding those efficiencies or being able to train their call handlers more effectively. We actually have a feature of the platform called Conversation Analytics, which looks at the transcriptions of telephone conversations and then automates the process of being able to analyze those. So if you're looking to spot that particular keywords are being said on a telephone conversation and the volume of times that's happening, either by the customer, because you're looking for maybe key purchase intent, or via the call handler because you want to make sure that they're saying the right things on the call, we're able to do that in an automated way and be able to map that all back into the reporting interface within the platform. So there's some really intelligent stuff that's happening in the background, which we can surface through some very simple and effective reporting to be able to provide that intel to our customers to actually be able to affect the way that they're either analysing the conversations, handling the calls, training their staff from an operational point of view. And as you say, that can result into training material or different sort of top tips or top challenges that are coming through from their customers. And the holy grail for me is then mapping that back to the online journey and being able to improve your support content within a help section of the website or wherever that may sit, so that you're actually trying to educate the customer, not needing them to come through on the telephone conversation. So if it's a service type of call, your goals or aims may be to try and actually reduce the burden on your contact center to save cost. Therefore, you want to improve the content within your help section of the website, and our platform can allow you to do that.
I think that deep understanding that you've just shown there, Sam, shines through sort of our omni-channel world and how in the past it's been seen as difficult, as Steve said, but actually the tools are there now, and we're able to do so much more than perhaps many organisations realise. But the thing that fascinates me, and I haven't raised this so far, but you're a director of CX at what age, Sam?
32.
32.
Well, I was just beginning to like you, Sam, as well.
So what I'm really intrigued about, and I'm sure a lot of people will be also really interested, is that, you know, that deep knowledge that you've just shown and how you've got to the position you've got with that knowledge. You know, where did you start this journey? You know, that it sounds really interesting that you deeply understand, as I say, the channels and how they work together. So what's taken you on the path to get there? Because there's going to be other people going, wow, that's super impressive. How do I do that?
Well, thank you.
I'm going to put the question slightly differently, Sam, if I may, just for my bent on it. The president of the Drum and Bass Society at Portsmouth University, as a starting point, director of CX at a call intelligence company. Fill in the blanks for us.
I'd really hope that hadn't come up today, Steve. But
well, no,
that's great.
It's my skew towards it, Sam, because I'm with you completely. We can talk chase and status and all sorts later, but
it's
interesting. We'll answer Shane's question first.
It's interesting you raise it, because the two things are actually deeply connected. So, when I was a young and aspiring teenager, and had an interest in dance music, I decided what do I want to do with my life, and I decided. Particularly after watching and having a lot of passion around Kevin and Perry Go Large, the movie that was out at the time, I decided I wanted to be a DJ. So I got very into dance music and DJing, and as part of that, this is when I'm around about 15 years old now, I decided, and it was quite new at the time, I suppose, to be getting into the world of website development, because I wanted to, and social media, when in the likes of MySpace first launched, and being able to use those platforms to be able to promote what I was doing as a DJ, whether that's individually the mixes and tracks that I was working on, or some local events that I was starting to help to organize. So I got into I was probably one of the first people in school to have a computer in my room, and got into the likes of a bit of basic HTML web design. So I started to get a bit of I didn't ever really consider this to be anything that would have a bearing on my professional career, but just an understanding of the world of technology and some level of passion around that. And that manifested into getting to understand the power of marketing a little bit more. And this just happened organically rather than through any sort of course or there was nothing I was doing necessarily at college or university after it that educated me on this. It just happened naturally, and I started use my own, I guess, desire and ambition to try and continually elevate what I was doing, to just research online how I could better market to audiences using platforms like MySpace, and to enhance the quality of the websites that I was designing, and then connecting the two together in terms of directing traffic onto the website and bringing my audience into there. And that, I guess, that was the roots, that kind of sowed the roots of the direction of travel after that. So I then, after university, found myself into a position as a social media executive at a recruitment firm, and I very quickly evolved that, just throughout my own desire and ambition, really, to be a social media role through to more of a all-encompassing digital marketing executive role, because I just had interest in not just using LinkedIn and Facebook, but also starting to optimize the websites that we had from an SEO point of view, and started to get involved in PPC campaigns. And I just kind of drove that. No one was doing that in the business. And I just, through research of looking at digital marketing blogs, I thought, okay, well, this is also what we should be doing. So I just got stuck in and set up
Sam,
an
I
AdWords
just want
campaign
to
and
jump
did
in
that.
there because the role you joined this recruitment firm as, was it as a digital marketing exec?
It was
Or
a social media exec. So my
social media
role was
exec?
to come in and to help the business to market themselves on social platforms. So that's LinkedIn and Facebook in particular were two platforms that we were focused on. So LinkedIn heavily, as you can actually understand. And I guess that being around 10 years ago, LinkedIn was a very popular and powerful platform, but the recruitment element of it wasn't quite as robust as it is now. And you certainly didn't have the pay for recruitment solutions that you do now on LinkedIn. So I guess I just saw an opportunity for the recruiters in the business to start using the platform to connect to their candidates that they were trying to speak to fill their roles that they had. And I knew how to network on LinkedIn. I knew how to use the tools. So I was able to then just provide training to all of the recruiters across the business. I think I went through about 100 recruiters and in small sessions of training to help them to use the platform, and then to be able to prove the value, I guess, which for me was, I felt quite smart at the time because I was relatively new into the role, was just being able to then think, okay, what value is this platform having and how are we measuring the impact of it? So I was able to work with our systems admin to just update our CRM to say what was the source of the candidate that the recruiters were able to find, and just put a checkbox in for LinkedIn. And every time that they found someone through LinkedIn, we started measuring that on a monthly basis. And over time, the value of hired candidates from the LinkedIn platform just went up exponentially. And therefore, we could start to, once the recruitment solutions and the pay for solutions started to come around, it helped me to be able to easily produce a business case for further investment into some of those features, which then had the knock-on effect of much more effective use of the tool as well. So that's what I was there to do in that recruitment firm anyway. But I expanded that out into Google Ads and set up a Google Ads account and started doing some PPC advertising just to capture the search volume for specific high value sectors that we were recruiting within, and able to start tracking the performance of that, and then got involved in a few other bits around the website and experience of the website too. But I was there for a year and a half, and then subsequently took the decision to if I really wanted to elevate my career within the world of digital, was to join an agency within a digital agency within London. So at that point, I then took the switch across into an agency called Greenlight Digital in London, which is a full service digital marketing agency. When I actually joined, it was a more specifically search focused agency, so SEO and PPC in particular. And over the course of my time there, the business naturally evolved with the needs of our customers to service more channels, which was brilliant for me in order to get more exposure to the broader digital landscape. So I guess my role, I joined there as an SEO exec in 2011, 12, and just stuck with that agency for the period of 9 years, and just my growth in that role progressed relatively well into a client partner, where I was overseeing a high portfolio of customers and a team of account executives all the way up to account directors, and that it was the point where I decided to take the quite significant step change, I suppose, into the world of SaaS and Infinity. And I had exposure to call tracking technology whilst I was at Greenlight, so I had a bit of an understanding of the platform or the types of platforms or the technology and what it can do, because my role within the digital marketing world. I leveraged platforms like Infinity to help prove the value of the activity that we were running for our customers from an agency perspective. So I did have, I guess, some grounding on the capability of the platforms, which has helped me tremendously in terms of joining this new role now, to get my head around the technology and what we do and how our customers use it, which I suppose has had quite a lot of value in transitioning across.
Sam, I should write it down. It's a kind of, here's your playbook. Anyone who's listening into their 18-year-old self, go, right, here's how you just map out the next 10 years. But it's a really interesting story because it obviously it starts from a passion, right? The music helped, and you found, as a number of people do, but probably not enough, that although your passion, and perhaps if you I won't put you on the spot, Scud, you do miss out not being an Ibiza DJ. Um, there's still time for that. But is that you've harnessed that passion, and that learning there has helped you to the next step and to the next step. But the neutrality that comes out from what you've described is, and a phrase you've just used is, prove the value of the activity that's running. And that's whether you've been doing that for social and recruitment. Almost sounds like very early stages social selling, given that was probably 10 years ago, through to the digital, the broader, through to search, through to the work at Greenlight, and now beyond. Is you've got a really nice thread running through, which I think a lot of people can learn from. Is actually we can be agnostic. What you're looking for is, what are we doing and how are we proving it's the right thing to be doing, rather than that classic old quote of marketing advertising of, I know 50% of my advertising's working, I just don't know which 50%. You're exploring but being accountable as you go, which I think is a really nice learning for anyone listening in.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
so what next then, Sam? We've got the drum and brace to the modern day. Where's the next year or so looking? What's the outlook for what you'll be doing in that CX role for the coming months?
For me, it's there's a lot to do. I think coming from the agency world, it's given me a pretty good grounding on customer servicing within, particularly within the digital agency world. So there's a lot that I can take from my experience previously at Greenlight and apply it into the world of Infinity. One of the strands or the themes that I'm trying to run through the team is this of elevating the conversation. And whilst we're a data platform, it's incredibly important for our customers to ensure that they're using that data effectively to generate positive outcomes. And sometimes our customers are able to do that. They've got effective people and they've got well resourced teams that can understand the technology and how to apply it. There are some instances where our customers take the platform, onboard the platform, and then actually, over time, just the capacity may change within their teams, or certain people may move around, and then some of the understanding of using the platform gets lost, and it becomes a data platform, but not a platform that's necessarily adding value. So what I just want to ensure from our side, from a customer experience side, that value is always being felt, and that we are elevating the conversation that we're having with our customers, and our capability as a customer servicing team to be able to direct them in the right direction. So I'm trying to help support our teams on understanding how to use some of the bid management platforms that our customers are using to be able to actually have a look at their data and pick out opportunities or insights from that data using the Infinity call tracking data that's been overlaid to make some suggestions. And I guess that's taking it from the step of us saying, here's a tool, and are you happy with the tool, and what do you like, what do you not like about it, to actually saying, here's our tool, here's the data, I can see it connected into your bid management platforms, I can see these campaigns are not performing particularly well. I'd recommend you switch some of your budget from here to here, or to something with this. And it then just ensures that value is being 100% realized. So that's a key focus of mine under the umbrella of elevating the conversation for next year. There's a number
just
of
on that, Sam, I think that's a really that insight, that the biggest challenge that SaaS firms have is not how brilliant their tool is, it's how brilliantly it's used and deployed. And I really urge everybody to sort of think about that, and I love the fact you're focusing on that and how you add value and ensure that the customers get true back value out of it using, because as we know, and you started the conversation earlier about how do you measure success around customer experience and retention, and the other one is, of course, is usage, because if they stop using it and they don't see the value, then it doesn't matter how brilliant the platform is, you're basically, your market withers away. So I think that's really interesting challenge of how you deliver what's almost consulting services, because the strategic model could take you in a number of directions. There's some platforms, obviously, that have got an ecosystem of value-added partners. There's other tech firms that are doing it themselves. So interesting challenge facing you ahead, and I'm a brilliant one to be working on. So I stopped you mid-flow because I just felt that point was such an important one.
And there's an interesting point in that as well. Just to, I guess, to add as a caveat for anyone listening, that you've got to be cautious, right? In the world of SaaS, you want to be able to scale and grow very quickly. Now, if you add too much of a service element on top of that, then that can cause, that could in theory cause a blocker to be able to scale. So what we are trying to do there is look at that from a services point of view, where we segment our customers by those that need that support, and then have a look at ways that we can deliver it via automation. So whether that's servicing insights within the platform, our reporting suite, in more of an automated way that we can more effectively scale, is the route that we're trying to go down, and then just supporting that with some complementary services for certain customers that need it. So it's just about being smart about where you provide that additional support to your customer base. But acutely conscious that it's not always easy or possible to do when you're trying to be very operationally slick and trying to scale quickly.
It's fascinating, and it's that turning on the lights that really gets me, Sam. The idea that you can uncover that insight and information for lots of different purposes. It's really, really, really positive to hear, and very compelling. In fact, it makes me have to think I've got to rewrite a presentation on CX that I'm delivering next week. So we'll pick that up after the podcast. Listen, final question, because we always try and ask to wrap things up, a final single piece of advice on what you've learned. I wonder whether, just for anyone listening in, that as we started with that CX role, that's trying to either change the direction of travel for business that doesn't get it, or is just on the foothills of we're about to turn on a CX function, whether it's a team or a person or both. Any kind of guiding principles for somebody that where they should start, where to plot that path on where to go with CX in the early days?
I think that's a good question. I wasn't part of the conversation from Infinity's standpoint, so I haven't been through and lived that journey with them and how they constructed it internally. And my assumption, or I guess my advice from stepping into the role, in terms of how I have conducted things personally, is just to ensure that you've got to identify the need for it and have buy-in for that function or that need throughout the business, and bed that into the organization. So I guess it's important to make sure that at a senior level there's broader understanding and buy-in to the need for customer experience, because it needs to be embedded in every stage of the journey. So that is an absolute requirement. And then it's setting out a vision for what you're trying to achieve, the level that you're trying to raise the bar to, and what your general plan is in order to achieve and unlock that, and then just have a realistic approach and roadmap that doesn't try to tackle everything in one go. It starts deeply with the analysis and planning, and then you look at the execution, because there's so much that can come under the umbrella of a customer experience. I can see that how you could get very quickly lost in small little tactical things here and there that kind of may or may not necessarily have an impact, and you can lose sight of the overarching vision of what you're trying to achieve. So that would be some advice there, and I guess just being clear on what the overarching objectives or measurables are that you're trying to influence. I guess going back to the top of our conversation, it's looking at the net retention numbers and the customer satisfaction numbers, and making sure you've got some very good understanding of the metrics, and then reporting, and automated reporting set up in order to be able to measure over time, is this stuff actually having an impact? Because that's going to be the important question at the end of the day. Whether you're 6-12 months in or 2 years into a strategy to elevate customer experience, someone's going to ask the question, what impact is it actually having? So I'll just make sure and be sure that once you've got everyone bought into the vision and you've got a roadmap set out, you've got a way of measuring it as well.
Well, a big thanks to Sam there. I really, really enjoyed that, Shane. I think lots and lots to take out. What do you take from there?
Well, I take from there that you've just got envy and you want to go back to the world of drum and bass.
I did want more time to discuss, and maybe we'll pick this up online. Chase and Status versus Goldie discuss, but maybe that's a little bit niche for some of our audience, maybe even for some of our co-hosts, Shane. Who knows?
How dare you? I have deep conversations with my hairdresser about drum and bass, and she goes all over the world to their festivals. I know far more than I ever did 2 years ago.
Well, that's good, because at least most of us will know it's not Dun and Bradstreet these days as well, which is excellent. Anyway, listen, more seriously, what did you take from what we've just heard from Sam?
Oh, to me, it's all about how if you have a passion for something, that it can take you a very long way. And in this case, obviously into a career and to be made a director at 30. I mean, I'm a great fan of it's all about talent and applying that talent, and it's not about age. And I think that, that's something that Sam's demonstrated is just that absolute passion for measurement. And able to bring that in to all of the different roles he's had is just inspiring and brilliant.
Yeah, I think so. No, I think the thread from that, actually, the two areas I really liked was what he did very well, and that journey, as you've said, that passion for music that's taken him on that journey. He's learned as he's gone, and I think it's shaped and framed where he's at now. And customer experience, no doubt, is an important topic. It's a hot topic. But what I really liked is his thoughts on how you actually evaluate and measure it, because I think a lot of organizations do CX without really understanding the value of CX. So I think there was a lot of good in there, making it accountable, not just a kind of tick box or a glamour exercise because everyone else is doing it. And then actually what the guys are doing in his organization, working with that telephony data, it was a real retrospective light bulb. As I said, when we spoke with him, for years I've been advocating this, but haven't had a way to do it, is if you can get at that data, not only does that telephone conversation help you understand from a marketing communication point of view, well, what are the objections, what are the features and benefits, or whatever it might be that might inform your next campaign, but back to that value is the ability to attribute that somebody's gone online and has ended up on a call or is offline to offline. That's that holy grail, Shane, as we know, is attribution. So a really, really nice way to try and bring those two ends together.
Absolutely. And I'm really hoping that when our listeners have finished this episode, they're going to jump onto the LinkedIn thread and join the conversation about customer experience, some of the challenges, but also this opportunity, as you say, to join the dots. And I think it will have inspired a lot of people to take a different look, as it has with both you and with me. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation that will come afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very practically as well. When we finish this one, I'm off to go and rewrite a CX deck that I'm doing a webinar on in a couple of weeks' time to talk about Infinity, because I think that what they do, and I'm sure they're not the only ones in that space, but let's not be afraid to trumpet infinity.co, because I think they're worthy of a shout out. It's really useful and practical, as I said, tying up of those loose ends that often are a problem for marketing when it comes to getting that insight and then understanding the value in return. So yeah, please do, as Shane says, let us know what you think. I'd love to hear. Talk to us. By all means, connect with Sam. Tell him what you think on drum and bass if you want. I'm sure he's happy here, but more importantly on CX and attribution and insight measurement. That would be really helpful. As a reminder, wwlpodcast.co.uk. That'll take you through to our LinkedIn home, where you can not only pick up this episode and that thread of chat, but equally previous episodes, or indeed future. If you'd like to be involved, if this has inspired you to come and tell your story, we'd love to hear from you. So, as ever, thank you, Shane. Thank you, Sam. And thank you. We'll see you and listen out for us soon. Thanks, everyone.